Hey students, today I'd like to share with you a few practice strategies that I've developed that will help you get the most out of every single practice session. We're going to cover when to practice, what to practice, and how to practice it. So first let's talk about when to practice the piano. It seems like an obvious thing to do, but you really do need to schedule your practice time at the piano. So piano might be one of the only activities that you do that is not already structured into your day, right? School is scheduled or work, any sports or other activities, you might have to be at a certain place at a certain time. But piano is something you're doing on your own in your home, most likely. So it's very easy for it to end up being the last thing you do at the end of the day when you're exhausted and not really able to focus. So try to put the piano practice time into your calendar and try to stick with it. It really helps to practice at the same time every single day, whenever possible. And it also helps to attach it to another task. This has been proven to be very effective at building new habits. So, for example, you could schedule your practice time to always be right before dinner or right after dinner. Or you could schedule it to be while you're doing a load of laundry, although that might not be something you do every day. So try to attach it to something you do every single day. So now that you've got your practice session scheduled, the next thing is what to do, right? So before you start playing, you don't want to just start playing mindlessly. You want to have a plan. So try to make 2 or 3 goals for every single practice session and think through what it is you want to have accomplished by the end of that session. So instead of these long-term goals that you're eventually working towards, you're going to have something very short and specific that you can get done by the end of 30, 45 minutes. So make that ahead of time and then work towards that. That can help. Another way to make goals during each practice session is to have little segments within your practice session. So you probably want to warm up first. So always have some either scales, chords, technical exercises to start with. And then you should always sight read a little bit. So that's something great to start with as well. It really gets your brain activated and ready to work on your music. It's always smart to do some theory exercises too, either online or in a workbook. But then, of course, the meat of your practice will be on your repertoire, on your pieces. So as far as selecting pieces to work on, you might want to have at least 3 different pieces. Maybe one of them is in a more polished state and you're working on memory and preparing for performing that piece. One of them might be quite new and you're in the note learning stage. And then the 3rd or 4th pieces might be somewhere in the middle where you're working on a section at a time within that piece and starting to build an interpretation. Okay, so now we've talked about the when and the what, and so now how? How do we practice? So there's many techniques to get the most out of each practice session. We already talked about a few. One is breaking it down. So say you've got a big, long 5-page piece that you're working on, or a 40-page piece, depending on your level, right? These are strategies that work for any level. Break your piece down into small sections. So small sections that you can just work and focus on a specific number of measures or number of phrases. Then, as you're working and deep diving on those sections, you want to make sure that you are really aware of your tempo. So if you're going too fast and you're making a lot of mistakes, you will not be making progress. Most students practice too fast. So you want to practice slow enough so that you can get most of the notes and rhythms correct. So we're going for very few mistakes in our each attempt of the section. Then you'll be able to work on more details. You'll be able to add in more nuance, dynamics, articulations, balance, voicing, all of these important musical ideas. So small sections, slow speed is very effective. Of course, you always want to be focusing on rhythm because rhythm is the backbone of everything. So get out that metronome. Use the metronome every single session. You don't have to just have it on the entire time, but check in on whatever section it is that you're working on in that piece. Check in. Maybe you're going to use that metronome to slow yourself down so that you can play very, very steady and controlled. Once you have a baseline of a very controlled tempo, then you can gradually build up your tempo. So that's one way to use the metronome, right? Then the last thing that you want to do at the end of your practice session, once you've done your warm-ups and your technique and your repertoire work, your memory work, all of that, pick something that you want to just do a run through and just play and perform and get that performing feeling at the end of your session. A wonderful thing you can do is turn on your phone, turn on either video or audio, record yourself at the end of every single session. Then you're going to start getting more accustomed to that feeling of eyes and ears on your playing at all times. Also, you might get some really good snippets and you can send it to a friend or a loved one. So I hope that these tips will help you and get over to the piano and get playing.